Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Bobby, can you call roll, please?
Commissioner Nathan Liker.
Here.
Chair Neil Younger.
Here.
Commissioner Michael Burgess.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Order of business, everything's still the same.
Looks good.
Prior minutes, gentlemen, have a chance to look?
Yeah, no problem. Look good to me.
Okay. The consent agenda, everyone have a chance to look at that?
Yes.
Any corrections? Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda, items A through G. Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any issues from anyone in the public? And what a nice filled room. Okay, the monthly financial report. Anybody have anything on that?
I see no problems.
Okay.
I move we approved it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay, the Employee Service Awards. Jennifer?
Good morning, Jennifer Taylor, Ellis County Human Resources. This morning we will be recognizing employees both for Ellis County Awards for years of service, and then also the Kansas Association of Counties does recognize service. Ellis County recognizes at 5-year increments, and then Kansas Association of Counties recognizes at 8 years of service. And overall this morning we will be recognizing 51 individuals, and that includes Ellis County employees as well as paid per call firefighters. But between those 51 people, we have a combined years of service of 719 years of service, which just speaks volumes to our team here at Ellis County, that people potentially spend their whole career here. So 719 years, that's pretty amazing. But I don't know how we want to move forward. Everybody, as I call your name, we will have everybody come up and go through the line, correct? Shake hands with individuals, and then we will award them. And we will start with our Ellis County Awards. So Ellis County recognizes the following employees for 5 years of service and commitment to Ellis County. I have Mike Fields with EMS. Michael Freeman with Public Works. Jason Gershner with Public Works. Caden Grieve, Public Works. Tara Haschenberger, EMS. Kian Prochaska, Sheriff's Office. Rosa Reese with the Sheriff's Office. Vern Reuter, Treasurer's Department. Ron Wiesner, Public Works. Ellis County recognizes the following paid per call firefighters for 5 years of service and commitment. Brad Dinas, Tyler Giebler, Matt Lyon, Eric McQuaid, J.C. Moose, Trevor Sherman, Grant Weber, Mason Welbrock, and Brandon Zimmerman. Okay, Ellis County recognizes the following employees for 10 years of service and commitment to Ellis County. Adam Como with EMS, Kevin Kraus with Public Works, Pam Faunensteel with Deeds, Ellis County recognizes the following paid per call firefighters for 10 years of service and commitment. Matt Grabby, Doug Kuhn, Cody Niblock, Clayton Schneider, and Kyle Zimmerman. Okay, Ellis County recognizes the following employees for 15 years of service and commitment to Ellis County. Dan Dreyer, Public Works. Dale Hickey, Public Works. Ellis County recognizes the following paid per call firefighters for 15 years of service and commitment. Chris Klein, Dustin Matire, Ellis County recognizes the following employees for 20 years of service and commitment to Ellis County. Roy Aschenbrenner, Public Works. Judy Worth, Clerk's Office. Ellis County recognizes the following employees for 25 years of service and commitment to Ellis County. Scott Brown, Sheriff's Office. Mike Liker, IT. Donetta Pfeiffer, Public Works. Claudine Richmeyer, EMS. Ellis County recognizes the following paid per call firefighter for 25 years of service and commitment. Dave Richardson. Ellis County recognizes the following employees for 40 years of service and commitment to Ellis County. Kurt Hoffman, Public Works.
Thanks, Kurt.
James Yunker, Solid Waste. The Kansas Association of Counties recognizes the following employees for 8 years of service and commitment to government in Kansas. Emma Moore, EMS. Cody Niblock, EMS. Larry Rohr, Public Works. And Megan Stremmel, Public Works. Kansas Association of Counties recognizes the following employees for 16 years of service and commitment to government in Kansas. Charlie Dortzweiler, EMS. Brian Shannon, Sheriff's Office. Brian Walker, Sheriff's Office. KAC recognizes the following employee for 24 years of service and commitment to government in Kansas. Tim Dinas, Sheriff's Office. KAC recognizes the following employees for 32 years of service and commitment to government in Kansas. Lisa Ree, Appraiser. Dave Schuster, Public Works. Asher White, Sheriff's Office. The Kansas Association of Counties will again recognize the 40 years of service awards for commitment to government in Kansas to 40 years For Kurt Hoffman, Public Works.
You stick around long enough, you get a raise.
And James Yunker, Solid Waste. The Kansas Association of Counties recognizes Becky Herzog for 44 years of service and commitment to government in Kansas.
And just last but not least, we have one other individual that we'd like to recognize. We invited both the two prior county commissioners, Mr. Butch Slyer and Mr. Joe LaRue. I don't see Joe in the room, but Butch, if you'd like to stand up, we'd just like to thank you for your 4 years of service to the Ellis County Commission. It was joy working for you. I appreciate the opportunities you gave me and the direction that you helped move Ellis County into a better financial position that we were when you took office. And the employees also stated to me that they'd like to express their appreciation for the support you gave them during the last couple of years through COVID. They appreciated that. So once again, thank you. And the same goes to Joe if he's at home watching or out of town or not, but thank you.
Clearing out half our people.
Oh, yeah. Well, they haven't been here working for that many years of service without going back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shut the door when they get out.
Gotcha.
We know how to clean out a room.
Who is responsible for cleaning out the room?
He said a lot.
How many years had Butch worked for the county, though, prior to being a commissioner?
Ooh,
That was about,
he's in the health department.
I'm gonna say 30, 35
I
years.
figured he had to been,
Yeah.
all right.
There is seats up front. Just kidding. Okay, moving on, Victoria Coalition, Mr. Jeff Pfeiffer.
You think it was me? I hope not. Well, my name's Jeff Pfeiffer. I'm the chair of the Victoria Community Coalition, and Marilyn Brown's here also. She's the treasurer, and Nancy Pyatt is here. She's the secretary. I don't know if Brenda or Jim had made it, but we've got 5 on our board. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I appreciate your time and your support so far. We're talking about the St. John's Rest Home in Victoria, Kansas. When it was built in '63, it was done with donated money, nonprofit, and for the aged. And it was a facility that served the entire county. Residents came from the entire area, and employees came from the area. It was just a huge asset to the county. It provided jobs, provided activities for school kids. It was a great resource as a community asset. Unfortunately, in 2012, Via Christi closed it and moved all the residents to Hayes, a new facility in Hayes. And that had a huge impact on the community because we lost not only 90 residents, which is almost a tenth of our population, a town of 1,100, but we also lost almost 50 jobs, counting the night shift, the day shift, the weekend night, et cetera. And then we also lost a piece of our community. It was really an activity hub for our small town. And unfortunately, over the last 11 years, the building has gone unmaintained, so the roof is in bad condition. Windstorms have blown part of it off. The interior is moldy and rot, but we've had 2 structural engineers look at it, and they feel like the bones are good yet. So we have gained, the community has gained control of the property for about 18 months now, and we have done a huge community effort to get something going. I think everybody was tired of just seeing that building sitting there and have talked about what a waste it was. So through community meetings, probably at least a half a dozen community meetings with people, anywhere from 20 to 100 people showing up. Most of them were about 40 to 60. But then we also had numerous committee meetings throughout this 16, 18 months. And through all that effort, we've come up with a solid plan, we feel like. So through that effort, first we decided to establish a nonprofit, and we've done that. And I was here last December, kind of as giddy as a kid probably, because we finally got our 501c3 tax exempt status from the IRS. And after that, soon, the property was donated to VCC. So the VCC is the owner of a 40,000 plus square foot building, 6.5 acres, and a lot of potential for Ellis County. And through the community meetings, some of the uses that we're proposing, and the priorities include housing for seniors, childcare for 20 to 40 kids, a community center, maybe a senior center, and then a historical museum, and a 2-acre park. We did a housing study this summer, and it's no secret Ellis County needs housing. So if we can provide housing for seniors, that's going to free up larger homes for families, so there's a domino effect. So we're pretty excited about that aspect of this project. And after we had our priority uses, we went ahead and looked at the building and tried to figure out how it would fit within this 40,000 square feet. And if you can see on the perimeter, the west side and the north side, we've got apartments, up to 21 senior apartments ranging from studios to 1-bedroom to 2-bedroom. We've got childcare on the west side, up to 20 to 24 kids, depending on how many providers are there. In the middle, where some of the just beautiful spaces are right now, the old chapel is, we're proposing for community use, gathering area. There's an activity room that we're proposing for our dining and kitchen, just for family reunions. And then there's some office space that we want to renovate to offer for the community, whether it's nonprofit groups or whether it's startups, whatever. And then on the south end, which you've heard about over the last 8-10 months, we're proposing space for the Ellis County Historical Society. And that is still in the works. It's not going away. It's just a timing issue. We've been held up a little bit with insurance. Do we want to pull the trigger and spend money on insurance now, or do we want to wait till the more projects are funded and ready to go? But it is still in the works, and we're pretty excited about it. A huge asset, or a huge opportunity for the county. And then, of course, on the east side of the building, we've got 2 acres that we're proposing a park. Phase 1, we got to start somewhere. While the Ellis County Historical Society is trying to get started, we're trying to start on the north side. We've selected in the newest part of the building. I said the original part was in '63. There was also additions in '78 and '86. Well, we've decided to start in the newest part, and we've identified 12 apartments as our phase 1. We're going to add a new entrance on the north side just for the residents, and it includes some covered parking. So we've got 1 studio, 7 1-bedrooms, 4 2-bedrooms, some common areas, new entrance, new parking. And part of Phase 1, we also want to do childcare. Unfortunately, that Phase 1 is over $3 million. We want to try to fund that by over $1 million from the state of Kansas, over $1 million from foundation money, and $650,000 we want to try to raise here from Ellis County and Victoria through community donations. That's our goal. I think it's ambitious, but I think a building this size, an opportunity this size, it warrants it. And so the first step of, we do have a plan to kick off a community donor campaign in March through April. But before that, we're hoping to get grants from the state, and the first one up is the Moderate Income Housing Grant for housing. So we are preparing an application to be submitted this Friday for the 12 units. We're applying for $650,000, and we're also applying for the tax credits. And I think you're familiar with that. You've supported other projects here in the county. We're asking for your support today by way of a letter of support for this project so we can include it in our application on Friday. Other grants, we're going to seek, there's probably half a dozen grants that are offered by the state that throughout the coming months we'll consider and seek. And so I hope you can support us with a letter of support. And then we also have one other item we want to talk about as how you can help us down the road beyond this week. But I'll open it up to see if you've got any comments on that or questions.
With your MIH grant, you are going through the city of Victoria as your sponsor, and then you're using us as a letter of recommendation. Is that correct?
Yeah, just a letter of support. Yes, the city is applying on our behalf.
Gotcha.
Good question.
Which year tax credits, is it for 2023? Are you applying for these this year or for 2024? How does that work?
It's a good question.
You can't answer.
Well, I be honest with you, I don't know with certainty.
Okay.
But it will be awarded in 2023.
Yeah.
And I would assume they would be for this year, but they can be used over 5 years. And I want to just be sure to say that this is a new program. It was adopted last summer, and they awarded some last fall, and I don't think any of them have been transferred yet because there are some issues, or just not issues that are going to stop it, issues of making it a smoother transition. I think there's another bill that's going to clarify it coming up soon with the state of Kansas.
When the Phase 1 goes in, what are you looking at as far as employment? How many
Well,
get in?
it's employment, I'm sorry.
Just you, huh?
No,
I'm saying when you are completed with Phase 1, what kind of employment are you going to have, like the community center or the center? Is there any?
So, first off, you said, and me, I'm still, yeah,
Okay.
all of us are, nobody's on salary here, and we've been working a year and a half on this thing over probably close to 2,000 hours just in the community support. We thought that was a good foundation to get this thing going and necessary. But there will be a whole lot of jobs when you have a $3 million construction project going on. It's materials being bought, it's jobs to do the work. But it is 12 apartments, so we have a part-time staff for administration and a part-time staff for maintenance and grounds. So that's the employment for those 12 units. The rest, we just we got to start somewhere.
Okay.
And then, obviously the daycare will be 2 to 3 employees, 2 of minimum, 3 at a maximum. Could be 4 if the 2 of them are part-time and they're sharing or something, but the daycare we see 2 to 4 employees. So that's what we can see right now.
As far as the daycare, is that going to be 7 days a week? Is that going to be Monday through Friday?
I don't know if I speak for that. I'm not the provider.
Okay.
So we do have two or three people that are shown interest. One is very serious about helping get this going, but I'm not going to speak for them.
All right, understand.
Good questions.
Anything else?
No, I think it's a worthwhile project to support. We supported a MIH last week, and I believe we should support this one.
Yeah, I'm absolutely on board with
Thank
the
you.
letter of support.
That's good to hear. I appreciate it.
I'm supportive of it also, so.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and sign the letter of support to support the Victoria Community Coalition.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Excellent. Thank you very much. The last piece, I've been coming here since May, I guess, just giving you updates. Obviously, not all of you. Neil's heard me several times, but, we've kind of really haven't figured out a good fit for how the county can play a role in this. So I keep coming back, and finally, this week, I think, a visit with Nathan, we kind of came up with a pretty good idea where it could really help us out. We've got some folks that are in there starting to do some demo, and the materials are starting to pile up, so they are eager to get a dumpster and get rid of some of that stuff. And I didn't know if we could get our landfill disposal fees waived, I guess is what I was curious, if the county could help us out in that way.
Any concerns, comments?
The only comment I would have is if the waste could be somewhat sorted and coordinated with Justin out there at the dump site, so we don't have to put all of it through our transfer station. If we could do some of that and coordinate with Justin on you know, how it needs to come out, I don't see a problem with showing our support for a project like this, especially where we have volunteers doing a bunch of the demo and the cleanup. That's something we don't need to do as a county.
Yeah, I think that works. I know I don't know the ins and outs of our solid waste stuff, but I've had that conversation too, where if you just throw it all into one dumpster without any sorting, then it essentially costs more than if we separate out construction and metals and those kind of things. So that would be coordinated with them. But I think if we can find a way to waive fees from that, that'd be fine.
Well, at the scale of this, I think that'd be easy. I mean, he's already got one room with all the ceiling tile, one room with the track work, and so he's sort of already separated out.
I think that would help, be a big benefit. But
Yeah, and just a reminder, we are nonprofit. These are volunteers, and it's kind of a county effort here.
you have any concerns?
I too am supportive of it, but I'm also in favor, please sort it, and when the trucks do come, make sure that somebody's there to police it, to tarp it, so when we're not distributing it from Victoria to Hayes, before we get to Hayes, it's empty, so that's very important in my eyes, looking at it.
Very good. Least we can do. Happy to do it. So talk to Justin at the landfill.
Talk to Justin
Okay.
on how he wants it to come out, sort-wise.
Very good.
But other than that,
And tarp it.
and tarp it, I would make a motion that we go ahead and approve the waiver of fees.
And I guess if you can let Justin know ahead of time, so he's aware of it when he comes in out there, what's going on, so that would be appreciated too.
Okay.
That'll work. We need a motion then in a second? And I'll second.
I'll go ahead and restate my motion. I move that we approve the waiver of fees dependent on them sorting and tarping the loads going to the landfill and coordinating with Justin.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Well, thank you guys for your
Thank you,
time and your
Jeff.
support, and look forward to coming back.
Hang in there. You
All
guys,
right, thank you.
you're out there.
All right, thank you.
Brandon?
Morning, Commissioners. Brendan McKay, Ellis County Public Works Director.
Good morning.
So before you this morning is a request from the City of Ellis to help them chip seal about just over 2 miles of roadway of their city streets. It's a request they've made multiple years, and in the years past, we've helped them well. We supply some labor, the equipment by way of the chip spreader, the distributor, our dump trucks because they hook to our chip spreader, the rubber tire rollers, occasionally a broom to sweep before and afterwards to clean up the excess. Should only take one day or be under a day, so we'll have a day to haul equipment there, 1 day of work, and a day to haul and bring equipment back. Usually we tie it into our ceiling ourselves when we're in that area, so we're not moving equipment there, moving it back to Victoria or Hayes, and then moving it right back out there. So we coordinate that with them. They supply labor with blocking roadways and a loader to load up our dump trucks with their chips that they purchase. So no material cost for us for consumables, it's just labor and equipment and time.
Any questions?
Yeah, Brennan, with the chips, do they get a rate discount as if when we buy chips for our county projects?
I believe they do. They source their chips through other means. They use a limestone chip. We try and aim for a harder stone
Okay,
that would resist tearing on. People should be driving 55 miles an hour on their streets and having as heavy a loads as we have on ours.
Okay.
So that softer limestone chip that they purchase, they believe they're getting it generally from either J-Core or Flatlanders. That's railed up from quarries out east to sometimes Great Bend or Garden City and then hauled to them and stockpiled there.
okay,
So I believe they are getting that discount. We haven't purchased any of those chips, to my knowledge. We haven't the last 2 years I've been here.
okay.
It's a softer stone. where
Different,
you
different
have-
use.
Yes.
Okay,
Holds up fine to the traffic levels they see. I don't think it would hold up as well for our county road system.
got it.
Mr. Michael?
I really don't have any questions on this one, so.
And how many employees do they provide when we're doing this? Pretty much their whole,
Whole staff,
good.
because they're the ones out flagging, blocking traffic and setting up traffic control. And they're also on their loader. They put out the door hangers for all the people, members of the public, if roads are sealing ahead of time, so there's no cars parked on the roadway. And if there's a vehicle parked on the roadway, they are able to make contact to get it moved before the project starts.
I know you were saying it usually a day. I know I've been over there when we have assisted in, it seemed like I drove through that morning and that afternoon when I come, everything was gone and done, so.
Yep.
Good job.
The biggest thing is just trying to plan out movements so we're not deadheading all the equipment. We try, when we get with them before we do the project and map out all the roads they want to do and figure out what's the best way to do it. So we may do one pass on one road, miss a block, another pass and do a big loop around so you're not just turn around and deadheading back what you just did.
Okay.
Well, I'll move to approve the Ellis County Public Works Department to assist the city of Ellis in completing their chip seal project utilizing county labor and equipment.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion approved. Okay. Brennan again.
Yep. So I've also have Jeff Boyle here if you want to come up here for any questions they have. So city approached our staff about working on a joint project together for excavating out the public fishing pond for the vineyard, is it the Vineyard Nature Preserve? Yes. As we have better means to excavate it and we could use the material for projects, for different road projects for our new public works facility. And it'd be a net benefit for both agencies. City would have a larger park, we would have material for our projects. The planning we talked with them on, probably not going to be able to do it all at once. It's going to depend on weather and moisture and conditions we find. But we have plans and contingencies in place for, if approved, if we do get a rainstorm, how that'll affect the project. And we're going to leave breach walls behind in cells so that way, if we do get moisture and it starts to fill up, it doesn't affect the future progress of the pond. And you got it permitted. Your permit expires in July of 2025, so it doesn't have to be something that we have to do tomorrow. It's just something we can work around with our plans for the future for the work we need to do for our roads and bridges and our public works facility. Jeff's here if you have questions on it.
Anybody have questions?
Yeah, I do. I guess, have you approached any other local contractors on this project?
We have. They all wanted money to come and excavate it, even though the dirt was free. The value of the dirt's close to $100,000. A couple of larger companies, we had heard they needed dirt, and I thought it'd be a great workable thing for them, but they actually still needed funding from the city to do the work. And so we kind of started looking at other alternatives. And what it amounted to basically is that we had a city employee that was talking to a county employee, and they said, you might want to call them because we always need some dirt. That's what initially started the conversation. And so I thought it would be a great deal for both the county and the city for the project.
So were those contractors going to haul the dirt to their site or to any site specified?
To their site.
They were going to take the dirt?
Yes.
Okay, at no reimbursement?
They wanted funding from the city to do that.
But they were not going to reimburse for the dirt that they
No, they
excavated?
were not.
Were they going to cut any sort of lowered cost for that?
They did talk about lowered costs just because they're getting the value of the dirt. But in the end, they still wanted a significant amount of funding to do the work. So we just backed away from it.
Okay. I guess this is going towards Brendan. I do have concerns because after talking with independent contractors, some of the numbers that are put out here, I questioned and I talked to you about, on the lowered rate.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain that right now?
Yep, so the reason for the lower rate, that's what is FEMA rates, as we call it. That's what, if this was a disaster project, that's what the state and the feds will reimburse us at. So a contractor, they can charge whatever price they want, but if we're using a truck, that size truck, it's 65, 75 an hour plus equipment and labor rates. I know the going rate's different than that, but that's how we do all of our project planning and our engineers report. Because although if we hired someone to do it, it'd be $100 per hour to run the truck, I can't go off that. I have to go off the federal reimbursable FEMA rates for project planning sort.
Do you feel that we should be looking at it from a FEMA rate and undercutting our local businesses that are out there that do these projects?
That's what we are authorized to do, and that's how we have to do all of our projects. Like with the December 15th wind and fire event, all these rates are the same rates that we did for there. Although a local contractor would have charged $150 an hour or more or less, we can't charge that just because they're going to charge that.
Okay.
So this will be a net savings for all the taxpayers in the county of helping, assisting the city and us getting usable material that we have uses for right now and potentially in the future for.
Okay. Do we have time as a county to be working on a project such as this? We have roads that need maintenance, and we have, ditches that need pulled and projects that need to be done on roads and bridges. Do we have time to be digging ponds?
With this, we had talked about it with their staff, with city staff, was that after initial startup, we'll have a couple hours with a grader, a few hours with a dozer. Once we get down to bottom depth, the rest can be dug out with a loader. We're not envisioning, hey, any veins of rock. It's a flat bottom, low ground. There's cattails popping up. So for our side of it, generally the only labor that we would need in equipment would be one person in a loader, the majority of the work of this pond. And it'd just be coordinating with the city staff for when they're available to haul and us working together with when we need people on a project and we can't put anyone in there, working the days out like that.
So what type of time frame would we be looking at for doing this project if we use city or county staff that works Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or 7 to 5? What type of time frame would we be looking for completion?
It's estimated about 17 days of worth of work. So it'd be about 1 full month if we committed resources to it all in one and got it knocked out all in one go. I can't know what the weather's going to do. If I could, make my job a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll probably be intermittent work throughout the project. So as time allows and as labor allows for different projects, we could put someone in a loader down there and work with the city staff for their availability to work together on this project as a joint project.
Gotcha.
Can that permit goes till July 2025? How easy is it to extend it if this project isn't completed by that point?
I think fairly easy. In visiting with them, and actually on the letter that we received from it actually says, if you need an extension on the project, please contact us X number of days in advance, and the project will be reviewed and extended. So I think it can be extended fairly easy.
Has there been any kind of excavation down in there, Jeff, to see how muddy it is down in there? Because I know that's kind of a wetland. I mean, can we get started, or is it going to be take off a couple feet, let it dry, that type of deal?
I think the location, it's on the easternmost portion of the property, and it's in more of a prairie setting where the water typically doesn't run.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the current location of the pond is sort of offset, where the only time it gets runoff into it is after a decent rain. Your standard quarter, half-inch rains typically don't fill the pond. It's the larger rains that do. So I think the location of where we're at, I believe, is going to be conducive to digging the hole. With that being said, also, we did excavate the existing pond back in, I believe it was 2012, when it was really dry, and we did not find any water to the 12-foot depth. So that's where we hit the good amount of shale and stopped digging. So I'm pretty confident that location would allow for the work to get done.
Follow-up question. The city is expanding north and east. I mean, it's no secret that that's, targeted area. Are these ponds going to help with runoff on rains as we build more structures up there in that area?
These would not, well, if there's infrastructure built north of the Vineyard Park area, that would definitely influence the amount of water flow through there.
Will this be big enough, this presented project, will this pond be big enough to help prevent future downstream problems?
A very small amount. We're only talking about 2 acres. If the pond is full at the time of a rain event, it literally would just let the water continue shedding downstream. So if the pond was low at the time, yes, it would definitely help with that.
So has the city looked at some of these factors and charging you with the job of digging out a pond? Has the city looked at some of the factors of, okay, their future plans, and we're going to dig a pond? Do we need to upsize it to accommodate some of this?
We've looked at it. Again, I think the way the lay of that land is, most of our water capturing ability is going to be from the center west on the property. As of right now, that is not an issue with the city. The city has not looked at, quote, ponding more water up there than necessary. There's been discussions about actually ponding too much up there would take away from some infiltration that the land offers. So it really hasn't been a discussion that we've looked at too much in depth.
Okay, and we're just going to help dig it out. As far as I've seen on the dam, are you guys going to place the riprap there, or?
There's actually not going to be a dam. It's
Okay,
on
just
flat
on the flat?
ground.
Okay.
All we would do, the city would come back in and place riprap on the wind-blown sides
Okay.
to keep the banks from eroding, and so that would be the intent.
And as far as, for our future kids to fish there, is this going to be through wildlife parks? Are they participating?
It's actually already under the Wildlife and
Okay.
Parks. They're actually stocking it a minimum of 3 times a year. They're in visiting with the fisheries biologist. He is extremely excited about making this pond larger and actually bringing in more species, bass and bluegill and those sort of things. Right now, it's basically catfish. He's looking to expand that into some other species, provide more fishing opportunities. He's also actually discussed some grants that are available through the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks for roads to be constructed. He thinks there's a good chance we could get some funding for that. Docks, shelter houses, those sort of things, maybe a restroom facility, although that would have to be carefully placed at that location. But those have all been things that we've discussed with them. And the land itself is currently under the Land and Water Conservation Fund, so it's a forever facility. In other words, It cannot be used for anything except nature, fishing, those sort of things for the eternity of the land. Without special, you can take that off, but it takes basically an act of Congress for that to be moved to a different location. So as far as long-term, that facility is definitely bound to what we're requesting today, which is more of a natural, native type recreation out there.
I think it's a great idea for our, like say, our kids coming up. They're on the phone enough. Maybe we can get somebody on the other line instead of on their phone. So I think it's a good move. And like Nate said, we are moving north. So once we get that, maybe there'll be some other things follow.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's a project that two entities working together to come, the value of the dirt for us, I think, as we'll talk later on a project that the county's working through, I think the value of the dirt's worth what we get out of the work. Plus, since there's really no rush, we can time and work with our public works to figure out when the best time, when it doesn't interrupt with county business. We got 2.5 years to do this project without seeking extensions, so we may need an extension, but I think if they can work around the schedule of the public works to get it done when it's worth getting done, I think those two things worked well enough to get this project coordinated.
When do you anticipate that you would like to start?
Yesterday.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing. You got to clean them out when it's dry. You can't clean them when it's wet, as we
Yeah.
all know. So I'm thinking, the sooner the better to get it. And then as we move forward with our public works building, we will send you some water down as we
There you go.
rock and asphalt and concrete everything. So,
Yeah, I think right now is an ideal time because we've been in a drought.
Yes.
So I think right now would be an ideal time. Of course, we got scheduling that we have to work out with the county and what have you. So, it'd be a deal where Brendan and I would have to work together and make it happen.
Did any of the local contractors give you a timeline on their availability to do a project such as this?
They did not. These discussions were close to 2 years ago with two different entities, and like I said, they were happy to get the dirt, but they wanted paid to go do the work to get the dirt. And at the time, the city didn't have any way of making that happen financially, and still don't actually. But we just kept pursuing other opportunities, and like I said, when I heard Ellis County might need some dirt, that's when I made the phone call and was hopeful of that.
I guess you and Brandon can work that out when, everything will work. And how many trucks were you going to supply as far as the city?
It depends on the timing here, but we're trying to get 4 of them, but it's going to depend on the timing and all that, but I think it's definitely doable.
Okay.
For efficient cycle times for the trucks and loading, 4.5 trucks is what would be ideal.
Okay.
So anything more than 4 trucks, you're going to have wait time on the trucks. Anything less, you got wait time on the loader, which I'd rather have wait time on the loader than on the trucks, because the loader can stockpile stuff outside of the hole at that point in
Right.
time. So if we do get a rain, that material's already out of the hole and out of the way. And if we do experience a big moisture event when we're in the process of this, our plan is to leave a breach wall behind that we can excavate out with the excavator. So that way the water won't infiltrate the whole work area, it'll stop. That's what our plan is. Preliminary plan is leave a breach wall behind with the current pond in this new area. So that way the water doesn't run back and forth between the two and make the whole floor too soft to be able to get in with a loader and excavate out.
Are you restricting the public during the time that you're digging out and doing dirt work?
I think there's still an opportunity for the public to go in. They have to go around the construction area on the nature trail to get in there. Be just a few hundred more feet to walk, but I think that's a workable thing.
Okay.
With the breach wall in there, the pond would still be holding water, although right now it's pretty low. So the fishing opportunities right now are very slim. But yes, they'd still be able to get to the pond.
And have you guys discussed on which route you're taking the dirt? So you going out on Vine, or are you going to take Country Road and go up by I-70 truck?
The way I planned on timing was to go up 260th
Okay,
and then come out by I-70 right by
okay.
the new Public Works facility. And
Yep.
if they're hauling it to the city yard up there, it's right off 55th Street to the north, so the thought was to take it that way and keep the trucks off of Vine Street for the traffic concerns.
I mean, that will have some impact on our county road.
We
but
did just re-elevate and re-rock that stretch of
yes,
260th.
I seen that. Okay, any more discussion, comments, concerns?
I wish they would have, with 2.5 years worth of prior discussion, that they would have considered, you know, on the city side of planning to make this more of a water, you know, protection site where we control our runoff and plan for the future instead of just a small, you know, digging out a pond. I also have a hard time devoting county equipment for what should be a contractor job, posing virtually half rates on our equipment when we have, you know, local contractors. I do have a problem with that. I mean, because if I go dig a pond, and I'm obviously I'm not a city or a government body, but I hire, you know, equipment at full rate. All the local residents would hire equipment at full rate. Yes, we all pay for it one way or another. I understand, but we also have a commitment for our roads and bridges to put those first. So pulling equipment and time off of that for a pond project, I have a hard time with.
Okay, just previous, we approved to help Ellis and
Yes,
chip seal, and then we're probably going to also
well,
to the table for Shenchen, so we are doing some
that.
public
Well, with
services.
specialized equipment there, I'm not saying that helping the city of Hayes is a bad thing. I'm not going to say that digging the pond is worthwhile. I wish it would be bigger. I mean, to be honest, I wish it would be bigger and planned bigger, especially with it being in the works for 2 years. So, I don't like coming back, you know, because once you fill up a nice big pond like that, how long is it going to take for it to dry out once we double the size effectively?
That's where you leave those breach walls behind. Basically, you just start digging an adjacent pond and leave a strip of land in between to act as a dam or a breach wall.
But when construction is done, those breach walls are removed.
Yes, if there's future construction of a pond. And I'll let you speak on the size of the pond for why it's designed that way if you'd like.
Yeah, part of the problem with us going larger was the Kansas Division of Water Resources only allows 15 acre feet
Okay.
of storage without major water discussions. And at the time, it wasn't feasible for us to go bigger with other projects going on, R9 and those sort of things. And so basically, we went with what DWR said, start here. We can talk in the future about enlarging if you want to go bigger. The initial concept was 8 acres of pond that was looked at. That didn't have any, it was 8 acres was chosen as a quote fishing pond. It wasn't chosen for any flood control, anything like that. It was on the eastern portion and only for recreational use. So, but because of the stipulations of 15 acre feet, that's why we're asking for the pond size that we are right now.
Okay.
So in the future, I think what Mr. Liker's saying is, if we move forward with this project and assist you in it, if it does need cleaned out again, are we going to be approached again, or is that something that you guys are going to do as far as a maintenance type deal? When it goes dry, clean it back out?
Yeah, no, I think at that point, it becomes our project. It
Okay.
becomes ours to take care of. And you know, I think as we move forward, if we are going to do 8 acres eventually, I think that needs to be a budgeted project using contractors to get it done at that point. that's a very large hole to be dug. So that would be my intent. Right now, I'm just trying to provide, I've been out there on a Saturday where there's so many people fishing the little pond that's there now, you can't even cast without hooking somebody. There's that many people out there. And so what we're trying to do right now is just make an area where it's not like that, where kids can go and like we said earlier about the cell phones, get them off their phones and get them out in the outdoors. So that's the intent of the project.
Anything else, gentlemen?
Well, I'll make the motion. I move to allow the Ellis County Public Works Department to assist the City of Hayes Park Department in expansion of the public fishing pond along Vineyard Road.
Okay, we have a motion, and I will second that motion. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye. Or nay, I guess would be the
That's
proper
fine.
way.
Aye, fine. Okay.
Thank you for
And
your
it's
time.
not, it is not against the city of Hayes. My nay is not against that. It's to put our equipment and keep it on our roads. So
I understand.
that's, please don't take it any other way.
No, absolutely. Nope, you're right.
Don't.
Thank you
Okay.
for your time.
Thank
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Be in touch, Jeff.
Okay, Brandon, you're a permanent fixture there.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
Brendan McKay, Public Works Director, Ellis County, in case you forgot. Before you this morning as well is a request to purchase 2 new road graders to replace our 2008 and 2010 Cat 140M road graders. The 2008 has 16,500 and some odd hours, probably a little bit more because it was utilized during our last snow event. And the 2010 has almost 12,000 hours at this point. Numbers are a little off. It got used quite a bit in our last snow event. The 2008 talks with the Landfill Solid Waste Division Environmental. They have a late 80s Cat 140G. Parts availability and retrofits are becoming more and more costly for it. Both of these machines do not have depth. The thought was, in talking with them, instead of trading in the 2008, would be transferring it to their division, because that's the cheapest piece of equipment they'll be able to buy for use that has a known history. The 2008, the only thing that has gone out on it that would need to be replaced, that could be replaced, is the articulation sensor. That basically means when you grab the machine left or right, the front axle, the front wheels, you hit the button, it'll automatically straighten out. For what they utilize it for, I don't see that being an issue, having the autocorrect. That's why we haven't replaced it ourselves. It'd be worthwhile, but I can't justify the cost for that machine just to spend that. For a few $100s, I'd rather save that for other equipment. The 2010, that needs the moldboard built up and line board, so a costlier expense. That's why we felt it'd be best to transfer the 2008 to them. The 2008 has also had its transmission rebuilt at about 8,500 hours, whereas the 2010 has had no major transmission or engine work. You never know with used equipment if or when transmissions or motors will go out. Generally, 13,000 hours is when you either have a major transmission or a major engine rebuild. So with that said, we feel the 2008 would be the best fit for them. It'd also bring our machines that we utilize back under warranty, which would help allow for predictable repair costs. Because if it's warranty work, it's no cost to us through Foley with our 7-year agreement we have with them. And machines, if we decide not to purchase these ones, there's a 6% price increase that came as of January 1st for any machine that didn't have a build slot order by that time. These were December build slot orders, so they are 2023 models, just like vehicles, they're made ahead of time. So we'd see at least 6% increase on the machines. The list price is $500,000. With source bill pricing, it gets lowered down to $350,000. It's roughly a 21% CAT lists on source bill contract their discounted price for local governments and state agencies and state governments for all their machines, and it's 21% for a CAT 140.
Okay. Reasons we're looking at the Caterpillar 140 size spec. Why are we looking at that size, that horsepower?
That size machine, it works well with what we do. It allows it to pull a roller behind it for when we do a road upgrade. It's got the power to go ahead and actually get in the ditch and do a full ditch pull, not just a shoulder clipping. The 120s and similar size machines from competitors, they can blade a road, but to clip the shoulders and get in the ditch work and actually reconstruct, they struggle. They struggle with the horsepower and the weight of it. And they're not able to efficiently pull the rollers behind them to help compact the material.
How old are our rollers?
They're there.
Pretty old.
Yes.
Did we pull the rollers with equipment prior to the 140?
Yes, the 12M is effective. Cats changed their numbers. It started out as a 140, then it went to a 12M series, and now it's back to a 140. It's the same size machine it's always been.
Right. But our rollers were probably pulled, I'm guessing these are 225 horse, 250 horse?
No, 179.
These are
200
179s?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what the 140 was before, 179 VHP and then roughly 200 in first gear.
Okay. I'm just curious if we needed that size or, I know I'm guessing years past that we didn't have that amount of horsepower.
It's been roughly the same. The spec-wise, they haven't changed a whole, besides the electronics in them and the DEF system, that's really the major changes to them, and some
Okay.
creature comforts. Instead of having antlers or the standing up in the machine like in the 80s and 90s machines where you had straps to tie yourself in and not sit in the seat to run the machine, these are all joystick controllers, so the operator's sitting in the cab with all its controls at his hands instead of having to reach for the steering wheel and work your 12 to 16 levers up front, or 8 if you're paint palm model.
Gotcha. Looking through the bid, it has on here tires and rims, a partial allowance on tires. Are these machines not coming with tires?
No, they come with tires. We get Snow Plus tires, so it's a different tire than the standard one.
Okay.
So we run Snow Plus tires on all of our machines. We like the where we get out of them, the price point of them, and then they work very well in the snow and ice conditions as well as the dry and wet conditions, to where we don't have to chain up near as frequently.
Okay.
This last snowstorm where we got the 7 to 9 inches all across county, none of our graders put chains on throughout that. And we had graders out day one of the storm because we had a lot of snow and not enough trucks to keep up with the snowfall on our paved roads.
Gotcha. With the warranty with Foley, how dependable have they been on warranty?
Very good. They have not questioned us on anything. If it's borderline, they've done it. They've also done in the past, actually on that 2010, it's out of warranty. It had an issue with the turbo, and they good faith warranted. That's one of the things that we like with Caterpillar is even if something's out of warranty, we take oil samples and specs of everything. When we take it, we do all of our services. If it shows a history of wear, or they found a pattern in older machines that this turbo goes and fails at 8,500 hours or 9,000 hours, they'll good faith warranty the parts and potentially the labor on it. They've done both in the past for Ellis County.
Okay. What about parts availability on this new stuff?
Haven't, on this stuff, haven't had an issue with them. If something's been back ordered or on a national freeze, they've still been able to source it for us. We had a DEF manifold go out. There's a national back order on those. The Great Bend store found one on a shelf somewhere at another location, and they got it sent right to us. So while other entities were waiting, they were able to source one for us even though there was a national freeze. So we haven't had delays for those types of parts as of
Okay.
yet.
On our machines that are under warranty, how much out of pocket have we had in alternative repair other than general maintenance and upkeep?
Besides a broken window here or there, or the sand blowing on the window, scratching it up, nothing.
The 2008 that you're suggesting move over to the environmental, has it had major engine work done on it?
No, sir.
And it had how many hours approximately?
16,500. Time of writing this, it's probably 16,800 or 900 at this point.
How much does an engine cost?
35,000 roughly, if you're doing a total rebuild. So it's had a turbo, it's had injectors, but no total refresh of the engine.
Got it.
And the samples on the engine came back, they're not showing high wear or anything that's concerning, that it's not giving any of the telltale signs of a potential engine failure in the future. But they can go at any time.
Has it ever had any undercarriage on the engine done?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Would you think that that would be something that should be looked at before we move it over?
We can, I don't envision a need for looking at it because it's not showing any of the telltale signs of excessive wear, your high magnesium, your high copper, your high iron in your samples.
Okay.
It's been a good machine. That's why it's got so many hours it has on it, because it's been kept, whereas others have been traded off here more recently.
Gotcha. If the engine were to fail on that machine, what is a machine that has a blown motor worth with 16,000 hours on it?
Probably around $30,000 auction site is what I've seen similar.
Okay. What do you think is suggested value of the machine that would be at the environmental department that we would essentially get rid of?
All depends on where you sell it through. If you sell it through Purple Wave, I couldn't give you an accurate number because those have gone both ways here recently. On Iron Planet, I sold a 1991 one that was missing a door and half the electrical jumpered out back in 2018, and that sold for $65,000. The older machines on Iron Planet and the Iron Planet bought out everyone else. Those older machines sell higher on there, I found historically, because they'll be bought and transferred somewhere overseas right away. Because they'll be somewhere where it doesn't have all the electronic controls on it. It can be fixed out in the field somewhere more readily, or they can make their own parts. That one, I believe, ended up going to Bolivia when we sold that one at that time.
Okay. I think that answers most of my questions. Thank you, Brendan.
Mr. Michael, any?
Go over our trade-in options again. There's a couple options on here on trade allowance. One's 49.3 and the other 62.3. One without a trade-in at all.
Yep. The 49.3 is for the 2008 machine.
Okay.
So I had them run us a quote without a trade-in, or if we transfer that machine over to,
That's the one you're recommending send over to
yes, sir.
environmental service. Okay.
We feel it'll fit their needs the best. It doesn't need any repairs before it goes into service.
Okay.
How much does solid waste, how many hours? I mean, I know that's probably gonna vary, but what do they use that, how many hours a year?
I would, just a few hundred, right?
Okay. So that may last them for quite a long time.
If the one they've had is
Everything goes right.
the late 80s and they've had it for this long,
Okay.
it doesn't get near the use that the road and bridge side sees out of their machines.
And if push would come to shove, that they have that unit out there and we would have something go sour where you couldn't get a part, there's always that option that we could bring it in if needed, correct? To use it.
That'd be up to Justin, but you want to come up?
I guess what Neil's asking, we have backup machines at our Public Works Department.
We have one auxiliary machine that's used for special projects so we can keep blades in their territories, or when we get these snow events or major rainfall events, we staff that grader. It's an older machine that's not in warranty. It's not meant to be used every day, but it is used very frequently, or it's used as a backup if one of the territories units goes down.
Is that a similar machine to this 140 that we're talking?
So that 2008 is our spare machine right now.
Okay.
Auxiliary machine. We have another one that we potentially trade in. It's a 2010. That one has a brand new motor in it. We're going to move that one to our auxiliary machine.
Okay.
So my question was, Justin, if push come to shove, if we would need it, would there be a problem if we would have problems with parts, whatever, if we could possibly borrow that unit?
Yeah, absolutely, that wouldn't be,
Okay.
yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay. Thank you.
The leasing out, what do we do in 7 years then? Is it our plan then in 7 years to trade these back in and
That would
start
be
over?
that would be my hope and the intent from my predecessor about putting these in these lease. It means it's already budgeted for in 7 years. It's just transferring over, basically. That's why they've been trying to get these to keep them under lease or under warranty.
Mm-hmm.
Is it, I mean, you could have a $40,000 engine, $35,000 engine or transmission go out, and you were out of pocket that, and plus the downtime, where if it's a warranty issue, it's still covered. If it's covered and still in its time frame, they'll supply a loaner unit to us if it's going to be down for a considerable amount of time. If it's a good faith warranty, they don't supply the unit as a backup machine, but they still cover the cost of the parts and sometimes the labor as well, depending upon the who, what, why, where, and when of what failed.
What are these machines worth at the end of the 7 years?
They go for around $140,000.
Okay. So would we have a $140,000 credit on our future one that we purchase, or would it be we just start over pretty much because it's only on a lease?
No, it's leased to own or financed to own. It's ours at the end of that 7-year period. We owned it outright. So that would be like a $140,000 credit. The reason our trade-ins are so low right now is our machines they don't go by the year, they go by the number of hours on the machine. For the contractor market. If it was a 2018 with 10 hours on it, it'd be the same similar price to a new machine with 0 hours on it. The year of the manufacturer doesn't really play into what its value is for the newer electronic stuff.
Got it.
So that would help with us being budgeted $95,000 in operating to cover the cost of these leases. That's with a $60,000 trade-in and $0 trade-in. The intent is when those come up again for lease, we'll be trading in a machine worth $140,000, which would lower the amount for those lease payments.
Okay.
Which is, the county had gone so far in between trading out machines, we're kind of behind the 8 ball on it, that it's going to cost more right now for us to get back into keeping those machines under warranty, but in the future, those costs should come down. They've gone up $100,000 in 2.5 years.
7 years, we might be looking at
Yes.
a grader that's, instead of 305, it'd be 450. So you get 140 back on yours, but you're still in the same spot, but
Yeah.
who knows? I guess that would generate that question then, why not just pay for it outright and save the 6% on the leasing? And we'd still have a 7-year warranty. I
And
don't
we
know.
could, it was done that way also to alleviate the Fund 16 shortages. And then also, if it's already budgeted, you can't make decisions for future commissioners, and I can't as well. But if we already have it budgeted, it's kind of a wash if you change it out and replace it under warranty at that point in time, because you've already budgeted the amount for the replacements.
Gotcha. And we'll address this in the future at a future meeting, but the Sourcewell, you're confident in the way Sourcewell has worked?
Yes, sir. So as we discussed yesterday on the phone, I found the bids for Saline County who went out to bid. Their price for a 140 similar spec was $383. So that would be the $350 plus the 6% upcharge. I don't think they run Snow Plus tires, so they've got a little deduct there. And whether it's Sourcewell or you go out competitive bid, the price is the price. If I can go out to bid in the future, if the 3 of you would like, this saves me a lot of time on the back end, up front, to getting that information, because
And like I said, we'll address it at a later time on the Sourcewell situation.
okay.
And Brandon, as far as Foley, are they coming out of Salina or Wichita? Do they have a
Great Bend.
Great Bend? Okay.
Great Bend, and they have
So
3
we're-
techs in the Hayes area.
I didn't know what the
Yeah.
help situation was, where they come.
They have 3 techs here in Hayes, and they've also sent some a tech out of Sylvan Grove, another tech out of Russell in the past.
Okay,
We have an issue, they're here.
okay. There's been, that your knowledge, there's not ever been an issue them getting here when we have something
No.
go wrong. Okay, all right.
When our excavator did break down, they were here right away. We were on the phone with them, talking through their techs. Part of our maintenance plan and agreement with them, we have further access to their systems and techs. All of our electronic capabilities with those machines is, we can go further in those than we can on our other type manufacturer machines.
Okay.
Do these machines, will they have GPS on them?
There is GPS. It's just another thing we can pay for. They have what they call the or it used to be Star. They change their name every few years, just like they change model numbers. It'll show you the machine's history, where it's at, idle time, run time, and we have access to that. Our shop does, to see where it is.
Do we pull those reports kind of regularly to inspect them?
Yep. See idle time to see if there's high idle time or if they're loading the engine too much. We can discuss with them about changing gears
Got
to
it.
try and change their grading practices. It gives a lot of information, whether it'll give fuel usage, time frame, and we use that information to help instruct operators whether they need to upshift or downshift a gear to make them more efficient machines.
Okay.
Has that happened?
Yes.
Okay.
More so with when we put someone new on a machine that's not
Yep.
run a machine before. That gives us, because we don't have enough people to be watching every person every moment of every day.
Right.
So we use that report to help instruct and guide them.
Okay.
Well, gentlemen, any other concerns or
Yeah,
questions?
we'll follow up on budget. Fund 16 here, so on this other, the proposed one before the final here, we had replaced grader for 23, 24, 25, and 26, 300 and some thousand. So what we're wanting to do here, though, is if we're leasing it, we're
Pay
gonna
the
pay
fir-
100,000 out of Fund 16 for the first year lease on 2 graders,
Yes, sir.
and then the remaining is gonna come out
Come out of operating
come out of
budget.
your budget, not
Yes,
out of
sir.
Fund 16. So we did have it in here for 4 graders over for those 4 years, but we don't have 2. We have 4 dump trucks coming on, which that's still here. The other 2 graders in the future, is that just, we're replacing 2 now and then 7 years? Is that what that is?
That's what the intent is. We have 11 patrol units.
Uh-huh.
So right now, we're behind the 8 ball, so that's why it's been 2, 2, 2, and then in 2020, the county replaced 3 graders to get all the patrol units under warranty, to get started on getting all those patrol units back under warranty.
Okay.
And that's what the intent is once we get to
Those
those
are 2020, you said?
2023s,
2023, so
these
that'd
new
be-
ones.
Right. Do we have anything, what's our most recent? Have we purchased graders in the last 10 years?
The,
Or
we
last 7 years, I guess?
we purchased 2 last year, 2022s,
Right.
and then when they purchased 2 in 2021, and then before that in 2020, they purchased 3.
Okay. So the 2021 and the 2022 would come up, are they on lease agreements, I guess?
They're on these.
Okay, so they would be
finance agreements.
2028, 2029. These would be 2030.
Correct.
Okay.
If the commission at that point in time decides to renew and replace those machines.
And that would continuously be out of your operation budget then at that?
Correct. And once we got to that
this
point.
going forward? Okay. Okay.
Okay, do I hear a motion or more discussion, Michael? Nate?
Not at this time.
I guess, yeah, the only discussion is just the trade. I guess that's how we want to do it, the trade in the one for 62,000 and send the other one over to environmental services, I assume. Okay.
And then sell the outright. So
I guess on that comment, I will make a quick comment. Depending on your action here, if the old piece of equipment, the late 80s model out at Solid Waste, next time we have a Purple Wave auction with equipment, which will be brought to the commission for approval later this year, whenever that may be, that would be the plan for that one, is to sell it on Purple Wave later this year.
okay. Well, I'll make a motion at this time to go ahead and accept the bids from Sourcewell and trade in the 2010 machine, is that correct? The 2010 machine, and then plan to list the 80s model from environmental at a later date.
Okay. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you guys in a few more minutes.
Yep. Thank you, Brendan.
Okay, Law Enforcement Center, the HVAC, Mr. Darren.
Good morning,
Took too
Commissioner.
long, Mr. Scott left. Sheriff Scott left.
Darren Myers, County Administrator. As we give Brendan a break, catch his breath, we can talk about the HVAC project at the Law Enforcement Center. As the commission is aware, we're replacing the units, the chiller, the boilers, piping, upgrading some of the not air handlers, but the fan coil units, cleaning them, balance them as well. As we went through the building, there was a base bid, and the base bid included servicing the two current air handlers that are they're located in the basement, two separate rooms. One is very inaccessible and hard to maintain, and the other one is in a big, large, open mechanical room. The base bid included servicing those units and then adding a reheat coil on them. And what that does is when we bring in outside fresh air to the building to increase the fresh air ventilation for the building, that reheat coil will help temper the air better. So that way the unit's not working as hard when it circulates that air. Once we got in there and started working, as this building is basically wrapped up now, just finishing touches and training the buildings and ground staff, all the controls and the operations. We started going over, not me, I guess I should say, Glassman started going over the Law Enforcement Center, and they did an assessment on the air handler that's in the basement in that confined room, and brought back an idea to us that it may be the best to move that air handler out of that room into another room, so that way it's more accessible. And if we were to move it, it leaves the option of, instead of retrofitting the old one, you just replace it with the equipment, with the proper equipment with the new one. So basically, there's three options to consider. One is just to leave the unit as it is, don't move it, service it. However, when it was inspected last week, when this proposal was put together to visit with you about, I had them go up and actually physically get up in the ceiling and look at it. It does seem like it's maybe a little out of balance. It's making some noise. It does have rust, which means it's potentially leaking up in the roof. And it is above an evidence room, so that is important that we need to protect that evidence. So that's within the current bid. Two options outside of that are the two change orders that are within this agenda item. One is to remove that air handler out of that room, service it, add the retrofit equipment to it, and move it to the new location. Once we started discussing that, we got to thinking, well, if you're going to move a 50, 60-year-old piece of equipment, you tear it apart and reassemble it, how well is it going to work after you get it up there and how long? So we have a second change order option is to, instead of moving the old one, is to remove we would install a new one with the proper equipment. It wouldn't be retrofitted. After the new one's in service and in place, then we would remove the old one completely. So those are essentially the three options. As you can see within your packet, the bid itself, the overall bid included a 10% contingency. So there is plenty of contingency funds built into the project to pay for these expenses. And at this point, as they started inspecting everything, there is no other items that have been brought forth that may need to be addressed. I'm not saying there won't, there probably will, because it's 50, 60-year-old equipment. I can't remember what year it was installed, but that's kind of why those contingencies are getting in there. You might find some piping that's corroded or some valving that may have to be replaced. So this should be like I say, I hope the only large ticket item to consider.
And the water heater, is that?
So the water heater was not part of the project at all. One thing, thanks for bringing that up, because I almost forgot about it. So the project itself is with the heating and ventilation unit, air conditioner. Once we're down there, starting to look, it's hard to explain if you just imagine the room full of all these pipes and valves, boilers, condensers and everything that's down there. The new unit, because it's a higher efficiency, instead of venting out the chimney, so to speak. The new units come out the size of the building through PVC for exhaust and intake. The water heater that's down there, and I correct my mistake that is in there, it's not a 375 gallon tank. It's a 75 gallon water heater, but it's got a 300 gallon storage tank next to it that recircs because you have the jail, and that circulates the water up to the jail, plus the whole entire building. So the idea is, well, while we're down there, we're coring and drilling through the side of the building, is to have everything ran for a new hot water heater and replace the water heater and have all the coring and everything done at the same time. That's not part of this option. I just wanted to bring it to the commission's attention if you wanted us to address that. Greg feels like he will be able to do that within his budget, his operating budget, for buildings and grounds, but I just wanted to see if that was something that you wanted us to consider to replace that and do it now while they're going to be doing the exact same work for the HVAC unit.
I guess we'll address them both separately here. I will say this, I think the way I look at it, the best option would be to go ahead and upgrade to a new unit, new air handler for the LEC. Just because, like you stated, if it's got that many years of service on it, it's hard telling how many years left are in it. And I don't want to be on the news because we damaged evidence.
And there's no concern of that. I just want to at least be aware that it is over an evidence room that is controlled and secured, and there's limited access. So if something were to happen, it's not someplace that is visited every single day. So getting that,
I think accessibility for serviceability is
that's another
key.
issue.
Michael?
I don't really have any comments. I don't know.
Okay, I am too supportive of this. Reason is we put a new unit in. Everything is nowadays is made more efficient. Will run cheaper and probably better than that boat anchor that's in there. So as far as the water heater, I would say go electric, but with that kind of storage, I don't think the electric would not keep up.
Greg
So-
did ask that, and it would go
Yeah.
back, stay as natural gas.
Okay.
And I would suggest doing the water heater at this type as well.
Do it all.
While we're down there, we're changing things around. I mean, we're having the system opened up to essentially, may as well do it all at once while we're in the area.
We haven't got pricing or anything on that. We feel that it will be within the county administrator's budget authority to approve it. But I just want, since modifying the building and doing the whole entire project, I wanted to be just open with the commission and see if that was something that you wanted us to do while we were there. The other piece to the water heater part that is impactful of a future decision is by venting the new water heater, potentially new water heater outside the building. The current one, the way it sits, because of its efficiency, there's a flue that goes through the chimney that's exhausted up onto the roof. As I brought to the commission last week or the week before, we're looking at putting a new roof. And if we would, with the new HVAC unit, and if we replace the water heater to a higher efficiency, we could essentially cap the chimney of the law enforcement center, and it would just eliminate another penetration on the roof.
Yep, I agree.
I also like to echo Nate on it, like say if we can, if we make the motion for the unit, if we can wait and do the water heater at the same time. Next question is, as far as the storage with the 375 or 300 gallon, what kind of shape is that holding tank in?
Holding tank, well, my personal opinion, it looked fine. I'm not not in that area. It's not a metal tank. It's a poly-type
Okay,
tank.
so it is okay.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
just sitting there right next to the water heater itself.
Okay.
And it's, they visually inspect that probably almost every day because they're in that room. And they'll be in the room for the next several months,
Okay.
probably 7 months. If the commission does choose to order the new air handler, I believe in the agenda item, I think it's 33 or 35 weeks out. So it won't be here until summer. So that will extend the project a little bit. But they have plenty of work in the meantime to get ready for it.
Okay, so in the future, when we do these kind of projects, just to let us as a commissioner and the public know, let's have like either the electrician or the HVAC guys say, hey, this unit's pulling 40 amps and we're knocking it back down to 20, so that will affect our utility bills, which should lower. So that would be nice to have that knowledge in front of us. I mean, I know, but just for the public
Right.
and the rest of us, if that's doable.
On issues like that, I'll probably actually ask Greg, our buildings and grounds lead
Mhm.
technician, because that's gonna,
Cool, yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha.
The other thing to kind of go along with Commissioner Younger's thought process is when we go in to do a building or work on buildings or do some retrofitting, if we could have a list of equipment or age of equipment. I mean, I know we've done a lot of HVAC upgrades over the past several 10 years in the county, but once we start tearing in these buildings and find a 50-year-old air handler, if that would have been known maybe earlier on in the process, it could have been changed out at an earlier point.
I can follow up with you after the meeting. It was in our original bid, and we had a bid alternate to replace both of them. But that was out without inspection and, further time spent up in the ceiling looking at it. So we did consider it, and
Okay.
I'll get with you after the meeting. I'll show you the bid spec or the proposal that we had.
Okay, thank you.
But that would be another point that it would be great to have. I'll ask Greg to be here because,
Right.
like, he can tell you at the law enforcement center, he just replaced one of the pumps that they're going to reuse within the last couple of years. So there may be a cost deduct there for the project, but most of that stuff he can tell you, like the boiler was, 1970. He knows pretty much all that. We can rattle off the top of his head. So having him here will be beneficial.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Like I said, with the efficiency of it and with us putting a generator in there, so that will bring that down also, so we won't run the guts out of that generator. So everything we can do will help us.
Did Michael have anything before?
Please?
Did Mike have anything?
I don't
You
have
have it?
anything, no.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I think you're online, just
Sure.
you do it all. If we're gonna do it, just do
Okay.
it.
Okay.
All right.
I did have the motion there, has, either option one or option two, so when you read it, it has it stated there for you, so.
Okay. I'll go ahead and move to approve the change order to option 2, move and replace the air handler in the basement of Law Enforcement Center and include replacement of the hot water heater.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
And once we do have, since go ahead and approve that, I'll still bring that maybe back at a
Okay.
future commission agenda just to discuss what the plan is for the water heater, so that way you're fully aware of what comes out on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Public Works Facility Design, Phase 2, Mr. Darren.
Well, with us today is Mr. Wyford from the GMLV Architecture, which is the firm that the commission decided to move into Phase 1 with for a space needs assessment of our county public works facility. Go ahead. And I guess we're going to turn the floor over to him initially just to kind of go over the initial conceptual drawings that were part of Phase 1, and then we can discuss the building itself and then what our next steps were. So I'll turn it over to Jeff.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners, staff.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Jeff Wyford. I'm with GLMV Architecture in Wichita, Kansas. I'm here today to present our Phase 1 completion of the services, which includes master planning, programming, and schematic design of a new public works facility. On the screen, if I can, would like to go through several drawings. I'll start with the civil side of things. So on screen right now is just an erosion control plan. It's a 75-acre site west of 183. We are looking at disturbing about 20 acres of that 75-acre site, relocating the entrance where the existing entrance is now, relocating that to the south, and then accessing the site from that new entrance. The next sheet are just some erosion control details. Next sheet, this is a preliminary grading plan. We've had geotechnical, the county has hired a geotechnical engineer, GSI, and they have performed soil borings for the last 2 weeks. We have not received that report yet, but once we do, with those findings, we'll be able to adjust the grades depending on where rock, if any, was found. We'll know what those, what it says on the boring logs, and a percolation test was also run for the sanitary sewer system as well, and so we'll get those findings. The next page. This is the overall site plan. We have a center main maintenance facility of about 27,000 square feet, and I'll get into that when we get into the floor plans. And a cold storage building of about 8,800 square feet, and plans also for a salt bunker. There is a fuel island, which is on the west of the building itself. And then we've got some other storage areas for stockpiles. And then next drawing. Again, just some standard pavement details, pretty typical. And then we have a site utility plan, and that would, there's a couple options going on right now with the water, but we've got some good information for power, gas, telecom, and these are just conceptual right now, and those will get further detailed as you move into Phase 2 services. Jumping into the architectural drawings. This is the overall maintenance plan. The building itself is approximately 378 feet long, primarily 60 feet wide. It increases to 100 feet in width for about 108 feet to allow for extended vehicle bays. This plan differs from the current operations by combining the weed control department with the road and bridge department, and we feel like there are some really good efficiencies by going to a single building rather than multiple buildings like you have right now. Best takes advantage of the staff and cost effectiveness of having a single infrastructure into the building rather than multiple infrastructures. If you could go to the next slide. This is the south half of the building. On the far left-hand side would be the weed control warehouse. It is a separate building because of the nature of the chemicals and fumes in it. There is a 14-foot separation, but it is covered by a single roof element over it. To the west, we have a loading dock that would allow access for deliveries, drop-offs, and things of such. Traveling further to the right, we have 2 vehicle bays for the weed department. There is a center trench drain in between those 2 vehicle bays. Yeah, that's great. And then traveling further to the right, in the lower corner, we've got the entrance into a vestibule into the weed and control the weed control department. And then once you enter that, you have an option of going into the vehicle bays or into the reception area for the weed control department offices, and the support mechanisms for that space. And again, by combining these facilities into one building, we're able to share conference rooms, restrooms, training spaces, things of that nature. On the upper portion of it, where Darren's highlighting right now, we've got restrooms, shared restrooms for the facility, with the men's room having the capability of being a storm shelter for inclement weather, sized appropriately for the staff, the entire staff within the building. And then continuing to travel right, we've got that large training room, and it doubles as a break room as well. And then lockers areas, there's a computer for staff to access. And then traveling further down sheet, we have offices, and then we have the entrance into the road and bridge department with their own vestibule, their own waiting area, reception area. There is a public restroom, a single public restroom available for guests, and then offices. The signage shop is just to the further west, where Darren has it highlighted right now, taking care of all of their needs. This space that we're showing has the ability to have a mezzanine above it, and that is a structure that could be for things such as the compressors, some mechanical systems, things like that, to take advantage of first floor space for the actual road and bridge functions, rather than taking up space for mechanical equipment that doesn't need to be on the high prime floor area. So I'll jump to the next floor plan, which is the north side of this building. This is where we have the vehicle maintenance bays. Starting on the far left, we've got that stair access up onto the mezzanine, and then followed by two maintenance bays. There is the parallel lines that are running left to right are a bridge crane that traverses all of the vehicle bays. Traveling further to the right, we have two long vehicle bays. These are drive-through bays. These bays are sized to such that the county can bring their largest vehicles into that with trailers to service the entire vehicle and trailers. And then that's followed by two more vehicle maintenance bays. And then west of that would be the cleaning area for parts rebuild, followed by maintenance and staff office areas, as well as storage areas for parts and tools and things like that. And then traveling down sheet, we have a double wide weld shop, and again, sized appropriately for the equipment and materials. The hatched area on the left side of the welding bays are where we expect to find desk-type welding devices and things like that, so a dedicated area for their desk-type tools. And then finally, we have a wash bay on the far right-hand side. Interior wash bay with hot sea and the appropriate materials to clean the vehicles for that. And then on the next slide, we get into the cold storage facility. On either end of this facility are areas with overhead doors to provide some climate control within those facilities for those shops and There will, the weed control as well as road and bridge will have spaces within those. And then in the center area of that would be open bays for vehicle storage that are all covered. And then the next slides get into exterior elevations. We're planning for the main building this to be a pre-engineered metal building. The cold storage building would be a pole barn type constructed facility. Overhead doors, we're showing some areas above the overhead doors with clear story windows to allow some natural light in there. We found these to be very effective at other maintenance facilities. The opportunity to get natural light in there means that you don't have to necessarily run all of your lights over those spaces all the time. On the far right, upper sheet is where we were showing that loading dock with a 4-foot depressed area for the tractor trailers. And there's also an area too for step trucks as well. And that's it for the, we've got elevations of the pole barn on another sheet. And that represents all of the drawings I was planning to show today.
Can we go back to Sector A? With the layout on the restrooms and that. On 126A, that entry door, or if somebody is in either one of the vehicle bays, they got to come clear down here to 100C, go through 100B, 102, 103 to go to the restroom. Is there some reason we did not put an entrance out in the vehicle bay, in vehicle bay 126, to enter the restroom? See what I'm saying? You're going clear down to 100C, then you're going into 100B, then you got to go through by the receptionist to 102.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was an intentional thought. There was quite a bit of discussion about the smells from the weed shop, and
Okay.
as far as minimizing the air conveyance between the vehicle bays and the offices. And so the vestibule, we're able to positively ventilate so that any of the smells from the vehicle bays could not travel directly into the admin area. So it is a bit of a walk, but it was intentional to reduce the amount of air passage between those two spaces.
Okay. I guess that's the wellness program, then they get to walk through there.
One question with that, is there going to be like a wash station in that vehicle bay in vehicle bay 126 that could be adjacent to the men's restroom locker room? Eye wash station, hand wash station for people that are processing or handling the chemicals.
I think that's an excellent idea. Yes, there will be an eye wash.
That
Absolutely.
way, when they
Yes.
do come through, they've already done a pre-wash.
They've done the pre-wash. Yes, yeah. The eye wash, and I think a hand sink next to it would be ideal. Yes.
Okay. One question I had, and I know we don't need to keep changing designs, but it'd be the slide right before that one, I believe, Darren. Over on the mechanics side, over by the wash bay, far right-hand side, there'd be about a 46 by 40 area to the west of the wash bay, kind of up in that corner.
Up here?
To the right, just to the right of that, to the north of that.
Yeah, if you were to expand that space,
If in future, if that were to be extended, would the roof line be at a point to where that could be extended out and then encased?
yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And we can include in the main building design the ability to expand on that.
Okay, because that would be an easy place to.
You could-
Storage for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to do a change or a move or an expansion.
Other than, yes, no, they're not even another than. I was going to say that the wash bay is a drive-through, if I'm not mistaken. And so that would be the question of, do you want to eliminate the drive-through capability in the future if you were to capture that?
Well, or if you were just to cover it, to have another covered portion.
Absolutely.
for
Yeah,
extra
it could just be
equipment.
could be a canopy.
Yep.
Yes.
So, I guess the same. I think that answers it. And there is a slated wash area going from mechanic shop to go into the restroom and the reception area?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Michael, anything?
No, I think it looks pretty good overall.
One other question I did have was over on the cold storage pole barn. You had mentioned climate controlled on the two ends.
We're showing a split system for
Okay.
those spaces.
Okay, would that be the most efficient? I didn't know if it would be more efficient to combine it as one, and put 3 controlled spaces together.
We certainly could look at that. I know the one on the right-hand side would be for
For the chemical.
for the
For
chemical, which
department.
is closer to the where their water source will be. But
Okay.
but we could certainly look at combining those into one 3-bay section.
It's just a matter of kind of changing stuff. I didn't know if it would be more efficient to do that on our mechanical side.
Right. Right now, we're showing 2 split systems, so one split system on the weed side, and then one split system for those 2 bays.
Got it. That would be the only thought I had, is if we move the bays possibly closer to the weed department and had them all under one system.
right.
If that would change anything, make it better, worse, whatever.
Yeah, there might be some efficiencies to that we can take a look at.
Yeah, because the rest of it's just open cold storage. So
That's correct.
We're talking, sheet metal.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to allow Brendan to come up to make any?
Yeah,
maybe
Brendan, if Brendan has some
information on
comments
that?
The discussion we had with GMLV and with staff with why having 2 separate mini split systems was the smells from the chemicals. If you have one split system, it's going to be distributed between both areas. That was the thought of having 2 separate smaller units for each area.
Okay,
Because in wintertime, Gary's not going to need that
right.
space turned on as much or at all. The other one is more for our carpentry shed where we're building our forms and doing maintenance on the small engines, the bridge crew is. So really the second bay on the left side of the screen, that one was just going to be tire storage and sign storage. So if it's not climate controlled, that's not going to be a major concern. The thought was having 2 separate units so that way you don't have the air transfer from one area to the other area. Because as a farmer, those smells can kind of get overpowering at times.
Well, but if the main focus would be wintertime, there'd be less open containers. The vehicles would be cleaned and parked per winter, so there should be, if that's the thought process, I guess.
The thought was his would be more idled in winter time, but we would still want heat for the guys building the forms, because we still
Oh,
build.
right. Which you probably, we could somewhat heat, on a lower basis, the, trucks. They would store better on the chemical on our spray equipment side anyway.
Yeah. Because Gary envisioned that where he keeps his roadside spraying chemicals, so the bigger totes of the machine, the 275-gallon totes for the county's use, not for resale. So sometime, just depending on how the years went, whether we get the moisture or don't get the moisture and whether the wind behaved for him, how much he is able to spray, whether there's any left over or not. It's on.
Right. Those would just be heated though, correct? Those are not air-conditioned bays, or are they?
The thought was they would be air conditioned, because your mini split will do both, so they would both be conditioned spaces.
Got it?
Just to give you maybe a price, we just put one in at the health department for the vaccination rooms because those refrigerators and heaters put off a lot of heat. And that heat cool mini split unit was only $5,100. So it's not a huge expense in the overall portion of it, but I thought I'd at least share that with you that we recently just did that it's a smaller unit, so this larger sized area would be more than that, but they're not a whole lot. And I think when we did down at the server room, they were like right at 8, I believe, for a mini split unit.
Okay, Brandon, another thing, if you can just inform all the public where we're working at right now, what projects we got going on out in the rural country.
So big one right now that we're working on, moisture's kind of delaying us, is we're replacing the culvert that burned out in December 15th fire event up on Wiles Road and 370th, about a quarter to a half mile back to the east. We've got some more rocking going on north of Ellis. And right now we're sanding down in Kevin Krause's territory down by Shinshin. Getting a couple of rounds of sand out there before we move the loader back to the yard for preparation of weather coming tomorrow. So we need to be able to load the salt and sand on the trucks.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
So I guess the direction that staff would need from the commission, and as well as an answer for what Jeff's next and his staff with GLMV, their next steps would be is to, I guess, for the initial conceptual drawings that you see here, that I took into account, and I'll share the comments that the commission shared, is to move essentially into phase 2, which will result in GLMV creating a contractual document based on their original bid. That was the low bid when we selected GLMV for the contractual documents,
The Phase 1 services.
phase 1 services. And take 3-ish months to complete those.
I really think, I think we can do it in 2.5, is my plan.
2-3 months to have the bid document or the construction documents ready, and then it would be brought back.
Yes, brought back and then bid it for 4 weeks and take bids in
June?
maybe receive bids around May the 23rd is what I'm thinking, and then have that available for you at your first June meeting.
Okay. I think we should proceed.
I'll move we go ahead and proceed on to phase 2 with GLMV with comments that have been made towards the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, second, if we need a motion.
Do we need a motion? We don't even need a
Okay,
motion.
well, we got one.
We got one.
When we get the contractual documents back from Jeff, they'll be brought to a commission. As I told you on the phone yesterday, we won't have them by the next commission meeting because the documents will be due to me essentially by tomorrow, the next day, but probably the first meeting next month.
Okay.
Then you'll have a motion to approve the contract, and I'm sure you'll probably already get started on
Absolutely.
preliminary work, but that won't push us back a couple weeks, I guess.
That's correct. Yep.
So, yeah, a couple weeks for the contract, 2 to 3 months for the design process, another month to bid. And as the time progresses here, I'll bring back another commission item to talk about how the funding solutions have changed with the intention from the old commission. Just for clarification, our previous plan before January was that we were going to kind of have 2 phases of construction. We were going to build just the shop area, have Public Works move out there, and then we would sell the current location, use those funds to fund the cold storage bays that you saw here, and any excess amount or, to help recover it or recoup any cost of construction. And at our December 17th, I believe, special commission meeting, it was discussed that potentially maybe just doing it all at once and possibly borrowing money, but also looking at our fund statuses to see if we could, if we would have enough funds just to do it all without borrowing the money. And so that kind of changes the status of what the budget is for it, because it, just before, was going to be split over multiple years using the sale of the old property, where just do it all up front and then be essentially reimbursed with the sale of the property afterwards. So we'll have a future discussion about that.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Darren, County Administrator report.
Don't forget it's Valentine's Day for the one special in your life. I guess that's my piece of advice today, and make sure that I don't forget it as well. That's all I got.
Okay. Mr. Liker?
I have no report at this point.
Mr. Burgess?
Yeah, happy Valentine's to everybody, and it's my son's 5th birthday, so happy birthday to him.
There you go.
Yes. Birthday. Only thing I've got, I just attended the Shinshin meeting last night, and I would also like to thank all the volunteer firefighters for what they've done. We've seen that this morning here, so, and all of our county employees for what they do for our community. So, and everybody, happy Valentine's Day. Meeting adjourned at 10:37.